Hi everyone, welcome back to A Rose in Bloom. So today we have a special guest, Ashley, my good sis. And today we're going to be talking about how to prioritize God with a busy schedule, because I know as young adults we have time and we'd be doing a lot, but it's really important to make sure God is still first in all of that. So super excited for what we're going to be talking about today. Let's get into it. Okay. Hi, Ashley.
Hello, how are you?
My good sis. BGA, okay, in the building. So, today's episode is focused on having a busy schedule, but prioritizing God with all that. So, like I was saying, I think it's super important because I know I'd be busy, but honestly, I've never met anybody that's like low-key busier than me until I met you, because you be everywhere doing everything. And I know it's a blessing, but it's still like, dang, sometimes I'm like, I don't know how she does live in New York. But I also know people look at me and think the same thing. But I've been running around trying to do everything under the sun. But the struggle can be real sometimes when it comes to my walk with God. And the desire to commune with him and spend time with him and prioritize him is there. But sometimes in this season, it's like, how do I do that without kind of letting everything else fall to the wayside? And like trying to figuring that out, because like I said, as young adults, we have time.
Right.
I'm single. I have no children. I'm not married. You know what I'm saying? So I theoretically should have the time to just like me and God. And I know, I think it's like 1 Corinthians, you know, that verse people be using to like, you know, if you want, like, it's like if you burn, like, better to get married, like all that stuff. But it talks about, Paul talks about being single as well. Like, it's better to be single because you have time to prioritize the things of the Lord.
Right.
And it's like, valid, but I don't have time still. And my singleness, all these things that I'm doing. So I'm like, I know it's important, but like, I don't really know how to do that. Now I've been figuring it out in this season. But even Jesus himself, with everything that he was doing here when he was here on earth, still took his time to spend time with God, right? And me over here saving our souls, like the most important job. So with the goal of being Christ-like and following Jesus's lead, we too can spend time with God. But just like, we need to figure out how to do that. So
Right.
I know, girl, you got some good tips, or hopefully you do. So yeah, I just wanted to like talk to you about how that looks like for you and where you're at in life. So let's start with all that you do. Like, what do you do? What do you find yourself getting into, this girl?
All right. So, my 9 to 5,
Period.
I'm a health engagement senior analyst.
Okay.
So
Analyst.
all types of public health. That's the easiest way to say it. Yeah, that's the easiest way to say it. So a whole bunch of public health as it relates to like the corporate setting. Outside of that, in the summer, I'm a director of health and wellness for a women's semi-pro basketball team. Then during like fall, winter, I'm a girls basketball coach. My girls are about to be in 6th grade. Go Legend.
Okay. And I don't know if y'all been keeping up, but we be at her basketball games.
Yes.
They killed it.
Yes.
They killed it last season.
They always come to support all pinked out. And then outside of that, I do some food allergy advocacy. So if you guys don't know me, I have a couple food allergies.
A couple.
I'm
not gonna lie.
So I work with food allergy research and education. I'm on their Rising Leaders Committee board. Do that. What else do I do? I'm involved with my church. So Springsgate Chapel. I do social media, some youth stuff. Sounds about right. Sounds about probably everything, show up for my friends. Try to be there for my family.
Literally, you do all. Like, honestly, sometimes when you like FaceTime me and Maddie and you're like, I'm just trying to check in, I'm like, dang, I need to go, because this girl does so much and she is still checking in on us, being here for us. And I'm like, I don't be here for nobody.
Listen, I try.
Like, you really do.
I'll call you in a bonnet.
You really do. So that's amazing. Again, like 9 to 5, then you have things that you do in the summer, and then you have things that you do in the fall and winter, like on top of that in church, right? And doing social media and being involved with that. And that's been amazing to see. So has that just been this season, or have you found yourself just being a busy woman, like growing up or like even in undergrad and whatnot?
Honestly, I've always been a busy person. I feel like personally my personality is the type that thrives in that kind of setting. I did have to learn what was too much for me though. But I think what may be too much for somebody else is like my normal. And so yeah, I've been busy since like 7th grade is when I
Middle school.
Yeah, so like my dad always tells people this, but when I was in 7th grade, I had this big binder. I feel like I can kind of attribute it to, I have an older brother who's 5 years older, and he was going to college. So I had a college binder in 7th grade. I had a 10-year plan. Like, I used to be serious. I was like, let me start getting my resume together.
7th grade.
I was doing the little leadership camps. I was playing basketball at the time. I just loved it. Like, I liked getting home and being able to, like, do a whole bunch of stuff. Also, like, involved in my church, youth programming, things like that. Took that into high school. High school, I was everywhere. So I did Model United Nations. I was president of that. I did SCA leadership, played basketball, ran track, church stuff as well. Yeah. So like, I loved that. I loved coming home, having to go somewhere else and like have something to do. And then same thing, undergrad. I think undergrad is where it slightly changed because my first year, I really had a hard time adjusting to college. So trying to be everywhere was like, oh, I don't really know how to do that in this setting.
Impossible.
Yeah, I was like, I don't really know how to do that in this setting. And it's like, I didn't know as many people when I first started. So it took a while for me to get acclimated. But I feel like by the time I was like a junior, senior, it's pretty well acclimated. I did like honors college stuff, internships, I didn't do sports in college anymore, but yeah, a whole bunch of stuff. So it's pretty similar. I feel like I've always been consistently busy. Yeah. I think the times when I stop is because I'm not taking care of myself.
Facts.
So it's like, if you don't want to stop, you're going to.
You're going to, yeah. Your body will stop for you.
Yeah, you just don't feel well. The same level of motivation that I would have, I don't have it anymore. So it's like I kind of have to rework what I want to do and why I want to do it. Yeah. And then like reapproach it.
Okay. I would say, honestly, very similar. Now, I didn't start at 7th grade. But maybe like freshman year of high school, I've kind of just always been busy. I prefer to be a busybody. Now, I know that can sometimes, I guess, like culture in the context, it's like not good, or like it's deemed like more negative than positive. But like, I honestly don't like sitting around.
Same.
But then it's also, like you were saying, learning to prioritize, like, what actually I need to, like, be putting my all into, because I can be a busybody, but, like, I'm not just out here doing anything and everything. Right. Exactly. So really prioritizing that. Same thing in college. I think going in my freshman year, I knew I needed to calm down. But by the time I graduated, I'm, like, student ambassador, president of this, doing this. And it's like, yeah. I think the shift for me, though, was, like, after I graduated, because it was, like, my friends are everywhere now, and the expectation is to just, like, work. And so I did that, but then I was, like, kind of, like, restless, like, what else is there I need to do?
Is that enough?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like enough, but then I also had to, like, check myself, like, why do you do everything that you do, right? And so that's when the learning to, like, what to prioritize really came into play. Yeah. But I want to say this last year, this time last year till like now, has probably been the busiest I've ever been. And you would think I have rest and whatnot, but like the way I travel for my job, right? I'm involved in the church, doing the podcast, creating, doing all these things. It's like, whoa, yeah, like we're back in action, but it's like rest.
Yeah.
It's very important.
I think I'll also say a negative side I've seen for myself is if I'm going through anything that is not having to do with like work or community. Because like I know spaces in my life where I can thrive. And like I know work, okay, I can kill it. I know basketball, like I can kill it. But if I'm going through something like personally, like friendship wise, relationally, that's will like I may kind of then redirect my energy into solely work or like solely this. It's like, okay, I don't even have time to think about that. And that's very unhealthy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, I used to do that in college. And I like vividly remember, man, I don't remember who did it to me, but somebody must have broke my heart or something.
I'm crying.
Somebody made me feel so bad. And I was like, okay, that's why I'm going to win Student of the Year. And like, I won, but who cared? Like, and I really thought I was like,
I'm crying. You said I'm going to show them pepper. Today.
I was like, oh, okay, you gonna see? And nobody cared. Like, I had to realize, I remember after that, I was like, because I thought I would feel some type of way about it. Like, they put it in the Mason, what is the thing called? The newspaper. I forgot what it was called. I think it was Fourth Estate.
Okay.
They put me, like, on the cover. I had my little glass thing, showed it to my parents, and then I'm like, nobody cares. I mean, yes, to me, it was like, okay, it's cool. But I feel like when you're somebody who you already, like, strive for certain things and you already set your own goals for yourself.
Yeah.
When you're recognized, it's important. You're like, oh, wow, this is a blessing. But when you do it for the reason of, okay, let me try to just like make myself feel better about another situation.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't even care.
No.
Like after you did all that, it's like, okay.
For real. Like what
Everybody says congrats, then the next day you're still sad. So it's like, sis, was that really all worth it?
Was it, you know? And I think that's so important in this day and age where culture is like hustle, hustle, hustle and do all these things. It's like, what am I doing it for?
Yeah.
Like, is this actually like, well, I mean, I guess in this context, is it like serving the Lord? Is it honoring God? Is it helping me grow as a person, or am I just doing this to show off? Like, is it prideful?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I guess with that then, like what actually fuels your passions? Like what goes into the things that you do? Like why do you do it, I guess?
Right. So, I mean, I think certain things you somewhat stumble upon it.
Facts.
But it's all intentional.
Right.
Like you think you stumbled upon it, but God, he kind of creates that path for you.
That's intentional.
So when I was younger, I used to play basketball. Like that was the first sport I ever played. I loved it so much. Clearly I'm not 6'4", so no, I'm not an Angel Reese out here, but I didn't play in college or in the WNBA. I mean, I could, but
okay.
But like I just love the sport so much. I had such a passion for it. So there was a time when I had come back from college and I think I came across the commissioner of the league like at the grocery store, and he was just telling me like,
wow,
yeah, you know, basketball and this is going on. I was like, you know, I'm going to coach. And I remember I had been talking to my friend about it, a friend who lived in the area before she moved for work. And we were talking about it for the longest. We were like, let's coach. But it ended up being something she wasn't too interested in. So I was like, is this something I could do on my own? Like, I wasn't too sure about it. But once I started, I really saw how it connected all of my passions.
Wow.
It connected my passion for like connecting with young girls, being able to mentor them, it provide them with a space where they can grow, not only in the sport, but like as a person. So that really fueled that. I think for like the food allergy advocacy stuff, that was something I never talked about. Like, I think there's still people to this day who are about to be like, Ashley's allergic to stuff. Because, oh man, I could hide it. Oh, I'm just not hungry.
Facts.
I just like to starve. You know? Like, me, I don't really eat like that. Man, have y'all seen me? You know I eat.
Girl.
So for that one was more so, I felt like I always prayed about it. I was like, God, just take this away from me. And it became something where God was more so like, it's a testimony for you.
Yeah.
Like, talk about it. So that's kind of how I came about with that. But yeah, honestly, I feel like the things that fuel my passions and the things that people see me do, I would pray that it all connects in people's mind when they look at it. Because even if they're in different avenues, the mindset and the goal is still the same. Like, I like to do things to a level of excellence. I want to make sure that I'm putting my all into it. So before I step into anything, I'm always thinking about, God, how will you use me in this space? And I feel like I step into things where I know God can really use me and I can be impactful. Sometimes it's a situation where it's like, this is really new. This is kind of tough. I don't even really know these people like that. But I see the impact and I see the importance of me doing it. So I'm like, okay, God, I'm going to step into it and do it. And then, I end up loving those things that sometimes you're scared to do. God, he makes it fun.
Okay, he sure does. So you were talking about the young girls with the basketball and like mentoring them and things like that. And I saw everybody, when I'm talking about you, I'm like, this girl is passionate about the next generation. And I think that's so beautiful because I'm not. I love the next generation and I really wish I could be that girl, but I'm just not graced for it right now to serve them right now. But I just think it's so beautiful that you are, because women like you poured into me when I was their age to help me become the woman that I am now. And so until I get to that point where God graces me for that, I'm like, that's just your girl. Like, I point you to her. But what does that mean to you? Because it's, again, beautiful with the things that you're doing with coaching basketball and even at Springs Via Chapel, like the things that you're doing with the youth there, like it's beautiful. So like, what does that mean to you? And like, what does that next generation and serving them, what does that look like to you?
So what it means to me, when I was younger, I remember the people that poured into me. Like, I used to be one of those kids who you might put me in the room, I'll be like, okay, like, act like I don't really care, but I'm internalizing all of it. And so the things that I thought, or other kids would be like, oh, this is so corny. So you just kind of want to go along with it. Like, oh, my, it's so corny. This lady came to talk to us about her job. Like, in my head, I'm like, wow, that lady's a boss. Like, that lady is so cool. Like, look at her heels. Man, I thought her heels
actually had heels. Yeah. But look at her heels.
Yeah, like, this stuff I remember as a kid, and I'm just like, wow, this person is so cool. But I used to see how other kids would respond. Like, oh, they're too cool to, engage with it. And like, still to this day, even this past week, I talked to my first grade teacher.
Wow.
Like, I love connecting with people like that because I just feel like it's such a blessing for somebody to see how you've grown.
Facts.
And for you to just talk about that growth that you've had, because me in first grade, a little treacherous.
Not treacherous.
In comparison to now, like, it's so funny the traits that you think are not as positive. When I was a kid, the report card always used to say, like, we move her desk and she's talking to somebody else. Like, my grades were great, but it was like, she doesn't even know this girl. We put her there so she wouldn't talk to them, and now it's her friend. So I think that level of being social, that in a school setting is probably not the most positive thing. When you get older, it's helped me be able to connect with so many different people. And especially with kids, it's helped me really engage with them. So I taught middle school math for 2 years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I taught middle school math for 2 years when I was in grad school. And I remember people were like, middle school, that age is treacherous. Well, I tell you, I loved those kids.
Really?
Man, I wish I could roll some clips in here. I used to be racing them after school. Like,
wow.
I just think it was so cool for me, the same way it was cool for them to have like a math teacher that engaged with them in such a way. Because when I was younger, I remember the people that engaged with me in a way that was like they saw things in me and they cultivated it. Instead of being someone who is dismissive because you're a child, like encouraging that confidence in children. I feel like I attribute that to the kind of person I am today. My mom used to just find stuff online and sign me up for it. Like, I remember one summer I went to an all-girls physics camp.
Wow.
I did not like physics. My mom just signed me up for it. And I remember when I went, I was like, this is such a waste of time. Like, what in the world? But I was able to engage with all these girls from all different places and just see people who had such a passion for something. even though that wasn't my passion, it helped fuel my interests for other things. So my goal when it comes to the next generation is being that person who cultivates confidence in them and helps them excel, because I think a lot of times girls are dismissed.
Yeah, definitely.
A girl tells you she wants to do something, oh, she's just a little girl, or it doesn't really matter. But being able to be a person that they also like enjoy.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened. I don't know how kids think I'm cool. But they respond to me really well. And I think in the way that I engage with them and talk to them, I always try to give balance. Like, you'll see when I coach, I'm very disciplined with them, but I also want to make sure it's super fun.
Yeah.
So I'm incorporating a whole bunch of stuff that they wouldn't get, with another coach. But I'm also the one who's making them run a lot.
Facts. Your kids love you.
And I love them. Look, I tell people I have 9 children. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I have 9 children. They're all in 6th grade.
No.
So, yeah, I think it's just important to always have that person, because I realize, I think, maybe when I'm 45, it won't be received as well.
Yeah.
Maybe I won't connect with them as well. And that's something I think about. So I'm like, let me not waste the time I have now to connect with them.
Yeah. And you don't know what you connecting with them now in this time period is doing compared to like what it could be when you're like 45, right? And where they're going to be.
Right.
It's so good. So when you think of all of that, what does putting God first and prioritizing him in that with your schedule look like? So I know you were talking a little bit about being intentional, number one, with the things that you're doing, and asking God, like, hey, is this a you thing? Is this what you're calling me to do? Is this something that will glorify you in the end, or is this something that you want me to do? Right. So that's awesome, because that's definitely one way to prioritize God and the things that you're doing. But how do you do that with your schedule? What does that look like to you?
Yeah, so my phone is my life in terms of that calendar.
Yeah.
I make sure that I make time, because I know that the day can get busy.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I'll be tired. So I know, okay, at the end of the day, I'm going to do some worship. I'm going to, praise God in that way, listen to some music. I'll make sure I'm praying. But in the morning is really when I spend my time studying with God. So I've had to force myself to be a morning person.
Yeah.
And give myself an hour of time before work starts. And honestly, it's so refreshing. It
is.
I now have become a big fan of slow mornings. When I can start my mornings slowly, it's beautiful. I feel like even if your day is hectic, it just feels so much more calm. But when you're rushing,
wake up, hit snooze, go shower,
and you're running out the house, it's just the day doesn't feel as set.
Yeah.
And then I'm also intentional with just incorporating God in little places throughout the day. I think sometimes we think, okay, I need to, be on the prayer line for 3 hours. I need to, hey, if I didn't wake up at 4 a.m. and pray till 7, I didn't do anything. Yeah. But one thing I did was I set this reminder on my phone every day at 10 a.m. It sends me something where it pretty much tells me that, God is with me, and that he's not going to take me anywhere that he can't keep me throughout. And I'll be honest, some days I just swipe up. I'm like, okay, I don't need that right now. But the fact that it comes every single day, it's a reminder to me.
Facts.
And it helps me kind of reframe my mindset when I'm going through something stressful at work. It's like, I can take a deep breath because I know I have God with me in this moment. Sometimes when I'm at work in the office, I'll just put in my AirPods, worship. Just being intentional about how I start my day. I feel like that really sets the tone for the rest of the day. And then throughout the day, I can just sprinkle in different aspects.
I think that's so beautiful. The slow mornings, girl, they've really revolutionized my life, especially since, I work from home now. And so it's instead of hitting snooze and then being late for work, setting my alarm. Now, I'm still not at a point where I can do 1 hour. I just need to do better with that. I need to go to sleep earlier, because a good morning routine starts with the day before, going to sleep, your evening routine. But I do 30 minutes. So I'll set my alarm 30 minutes before, it's my time to wake up. and how to just pray and like do devotionals and whatnot. But that slow mornings, like getting my nice tea with some mellow bread and just really soaking it in. And I think the summer is great, but I actually enjoy slow mornings in the fall. I don't like the cold, point blank period, but like the fall just really be doing it for me now.
It's a good little balance.
Yeah. But when you were talking about incorporating through your day, there's a verse, 1 Peter 4:10-11, and it talks about, it says, as each has received a gift, you use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's very grace. Whoever speaks, and as one who speaks oracles of God, whoever serves, as one serves by the strength that God supplies, in order that everything God may be glorified through Jesus Christ, right? And so I think it's so beautiful that you're like, you know what? I'm going to keep God intentionally throughout the day with all these things that he's given me, because like it says here, everything's been given as a gift, right? And we should use it to serve God and glorify him. So, I mean, you were talking about, so the best time to connect with God for you is in the morning.
Definitely,
right?
because I'm somebody, I will fall asleep.
Yeah.
And in the evening, I remember when I would be having my physical Bible, I'll wake up and Bible's on my face. I'll be knocked. So nighttime is hard for me. I try, but I just feel so exhausted sometimes after certain days, certain times. It's just...
Yeah. I think for me, in general, it's nighttime. And I just see it, like, I'll do my little, like, maybe like 5-10 minutes in the morning if I don't have time to do the full, like, 30 minutes. But at night, like, 10:30, my phone is on Do Not Disturb. And it's just me and God to really just, like, this is what happened throughout the day. So take it. But also, like, this is my time to decompress, because I do not want to take any of that stuff that I went through today into sleep with me.
Yeah.
It needs to be done. So I think that's like my best time. I like shower, eat my meal or whatever, and then just some nice, that's when I actually do like my full 1 hour, and then I'm knocked by like 11:30, 12. But it's different for everybody.
Right.
I can definitely, when I do it in the morning, my day definitely is calmer. So I think it just varies with like where you're at in life. Because I know, oh my gosh, I remember when I was in youth group, I had a youth leader who talked about getting up at like 4 a.m. in the morning and like having her coffee time and time with God, because that was before the kids were awake. That was before her husband was awake and whatnot. And I remember being like, that is crazy. Like, I'm not looking up at 4 a.m. And now that like my nephews come over on the weekends, or I just find myself like doing so much throughout the day, I never woken up at 4 a.m. to like sit with God, maybe like to pray, because sometimes the Holy Spirit be waking you up to pray. But I can definitely see that becoming my life when like a husband gets involved, or like kids, or like things just get too busy. It's like, okay, I'm gonna have to sacrifice and go to sleep earlier, but also like God is worth the time, right? Like he's worth it. So
put that on a t-shirt.
Okay,
That is
for
good.
real. Like he's worth the time. So if I have to wake up at 4 a.m. and spend that time with him to better myself, my spirit, and commune with him, that's what's gonna happen. So yeah, I think it's just different for everybody. And finding what works for you.
Right.
For real.
No, I think that's powerful, because a lot of times I have to remind myself, like when I was younger, it wasn't always like that. I'd be at school, I'd be telling like, if you guys know, I talk to my grandma every day. So I'd be telling my grandma that I'm doing this, and this. And she's like, at the end of the day, God is the one who's helping you do that.
Facts.
Like, you need to thank God for your health and the fact that you're even healthy enough to do all of that. And now I keep that perspective in the back of my head for days when I'm too busy to spend time with God. And it's like, girl, at the end of the day, if it wasn't for God, you'd be sitting at home doing nothing. So that's just a really good perspective, that God is worth it. Yeah. And, just when you think about it, it's like, man, that's crazy. You give God 2 minutes of your time every day. And God keeps you alive all the time. And you're like, God, take this 2 minutes, is good enough. I read the verse of the day.
Like, wow.
I used to do that. I'm like, be for real. Ask me at 3 p.m. what the verse was. I don't know. So it's like you didn't even sit with that
I'm
verse.
great. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
The people were like, oh yeah, I read the verse of the day. No disrespect, verse of the day people. But if I ask you at 4 and you don't know, did you really read it?
No, because my notifications still come at 10:45 a.m. Bum, I'll get that first today, but I don't even look at it. Mind. I mean, usually, like, I've done my due diligence earlier, but it's like, yeah, like, I mean, if that's where you're at, though, in this time of life, that one verse can really change your day, can change your life, right? Sometimes just one word from God really changes things. But it's like, are you sitting with it and really, like, meditating on your word? Because that's what,
exactly.
the Bible says we to meditate on his word day and night. But no, it's all right. Like,
I feel like we just have to put it into perspective because we're all human. And realistically, some days I wake up, I don't want to read my Bible.
Facts.
Some days I wake up, I don't really feel like praying. But I am working into forcing myself into a habit because the beauty of God is he's still so transformative, even when you're forcing it. Like, imagine you're forcing yourself to do something and you're still blessed. Versus I'm praying, you know what? The days I feel like this, eventually I'll get to a point where it's very minimal. Yeah. Like those days I'm just exhausted. I feel like, oh, I don't have time, but I'm still forcing it. It'll come to a point where you are more so closer to every day excited to be in God's presence. You know, I hear people say it and I'm like, wow, that's beautiful. But we have to be realistic in the fact that day one it's not going to look like that. Yeah. It's not. You know, even 1-2 years in of you being serious with your walk with God, it's not going to look like that. So, you know, you have to just keep trying. That's really it. I feel like the effort is really what matters rather than just telling yourself, yeah, you know, I want to improve my relationship with God. Like, what are we actually doing? Like taking those steps to do that. And it's really good. Well, with everything, with all that, how do you rest? Because women like us, girl, we be in and out doing all these things, and I definitely find myself even with this. Sometimes I'm like, no, I don't want to do this. Like, I want to sleep. I want to sleep. Or like physical rest is very important for me. Right. But it's also like different aspects of rest with everything that we do. And again, you 10 times busier than me is what it feels like. So how do you find rest with all that? Yeah. So one thing I've done, I feel like I started doing this in like the past 2 years, and I apologize for people who your text has not been responded to. But honestly, sometimes I just put my phone away. Yeah. Like when I look at all the notifications, I feel pressure sometimes. Oh my gosh, I need it. But for me, I'm very big on meaningful connection. So I don't want to just text you and then that's it. Yeah. Hey, hi. Like, that's a waste to me. Yeah. So it's like I want to save my time for a time where I can really connect with you. So not feeling pressure to immediately respond to certain things is something I really had to practice. And Madeline still tells me all the time is saying no to things. Yeah. Oh, God. I will have like 6 functions in one day. One is in New York, 2 are in Maryland, 1 is in Virginia. And I'm like, it's okay, I can do it. And like old me, oh my gosh, I'll wake up at 6 a.m. so I can go to everything because I'm like, I want to show up for everyone. I want to make sure I can support them. I want to be there for them. And I feel like that's very much like a my dad thing. Like, if you guys know African dads, girl, every funeral, everything, they're going to go. It's a beautiful thing to watch, how supportive they are to their friends, how much they love them. But I think it can also be a little toxic in that we can't be everywhere all the time. To do everything, and then you go to work, you're exhausted. You go to you just don't have the energy to function. Yeah. So I had to start saying like, no, I can't do that. But hey, let's schedule lunch for this. And it's tough. Like, as I've gotten older, I miss those times where you can just go over to your friend's house. Yeah. Now it's like, hey, how's your life look like in the middle of September? Let's try 2 months away. Yeah. But saying no is really important for me. And then also just finding time to unwind. So sometimes I'll just, sit at home, listen to music, and make myself something I like. I like walks. So randomly taking walks. Honestly, my new thing is I take naps in the middle of the day for like physical rest. 1 hour at night. Yeah. But I can sleep anywhere. That's a blessing. I can sleep through a tornado. That's a blessing. I can't naps.
like earlier this year, really like with the help of the Holy Spirit, really recognized naps are like an enemy of progress. Like they are
For you.
for me, like they are holding me back from legit, and like it's a little like deeper than I'll explain, but like they're holding me back from what God is calling me to do. Like naps, not good. And so I still try. I mean, we're like in the 8th month of the year. I don't nap as often as I usually. My time is going. Time is going. I don't nap as much as I usually do, but it's like I can't. If I nap, even who was I telling? I was telling somebody. If I nap past 12, like so, if I do 1 to 1:30, automatically I'm not sleeping at night till 3 a.m.
Wow.
It's really bad, and it's been like that since I was a kid. So like, and if I don't sleep till 3 a.m., then the next day is thrown off, and then I'm starting work late, and then I'm rushing, and it's just it's created all these habits and patterns. And early this year, I tried doing the whole like 19-minute naps. You know, they're like, oh, these are the specific things where you can nap and we can sleep at night. That still doesn't work for me, and so it's like I envy you small for being able to nap. I think it's beautiful,
like a 45-minute nap. For me, it's like after work is so busy. It'll be like, okay, after work, I got to get out the house. Yeah, it's like always something going on. So the only time sometimes I have peace is in the middle of the day. Or like, you know, little things too. Like this past week, I was like, oh, I need to go get some setting spray. Literally, I'm like, okay, 1 p.m. when lunch hits, let me just go get it real quick and then come back. So yeah, just trying. I still think I need to do a better job of it, finding time for myself.
Yeah.
But I'm getting better at it and just being more intentional about it, recognizing when my body doesn't feel well. And it's terrible when it's like at times that are, you know, so inconvenient. Like who was it? It was about 2 years ago. I have been pushing myself so hard. My friend was getting married. I'm supposed to be in the wedding. I was pushing myself so hard. Then I started feeling my throat a little sore. COVID. I'm like, it can't be me, not me with my mask. Not me. I tested the day before, the morning of, I was like,
the morning of the wedding.
I had to call her. I was like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Wow. And I feel like when I think of that, that is just like the biggest reminder to me of how much I was not taking care of myself. Because the whole week I was telling everybody I was tired. And it was so bad because I was around my friends. Like, I had no idea. Yeah. Until I was like, like a little headache. Yeah. Like a little congestion. Then one day I'm like, you can't really swallow. It'll be fine. Let me just take my tea and go.
It's getting worse.
Yeah. And I'm like, hey. I remember my mom was like, I think you should just go get a test just to be safe. I was like, oh, I don't have COVID. And then I saw it. I said, oh my gosh.
You're shocked.
And I'm like, that is a good reminder to me because unfortunately I've done stuff like that way too often.
Facts.
Where I just push until I get to a point and I'm overly exhausted. And now, I don't know, somebody's getting married, somebody's having a baby, it's somebody's birthday dinner, and now you can't go. And now people feel some type of way. Yeah. It's just, trying to manage. I think also one thing to think about is, you know, do your best to set those boundaries and to say no to certain things, and then just be aware of the fact that people are going to feel some type of way. Like, unfortunately, if somebody is a true friend, they'll understand. Yeah. But sometimes people are just not in the space to understand. Yeah. And that's okay. You have to understand that, you know, someone cares about you so much that your presence being missing affects them to a point where they feel like, wow, I'm upset that they're not here. Yeah. And think of it more in that way rather than, man, they're so annoying, like, you don't know I'm sick. Let it be more so, okay, let me empathize with them because they just miss me. Yeah. And like having that perspective, knowing that when you say certain things, even though you're doing the right thing for yourself, there's no other people are going to feel type of way.
Yeah. And they're, you know, they can feel that way. But you also know, like, hey, I need to rest. I need to take care of myself. I like, you know, I need to actively take care of the body that God has given me and doing that nicely. Well, as we were wrapping up, we talked about it a little bit, but what's like one or two things that you could advise someone to start doing in their like daily routine, weekly or like monthly, to make room for God? Like, I know one of the big things is like Sabbath, right? And how, I guess I'm learning new ways to do that. Sunday is the Sabbath, right, per se. But like, I know for me, it's Friday evening into Saturday night. For the most part, I'm not working, I'm not creating, I'm not doing nothing if I don't have to. I'm just spending time with my friends and like in God's presence. But like, that's what it is for me. But do you have any tips on, or how someone can make God part of their daily routine?
I think if you struggle with timing and time management, just put it in your phone calendar.
Yep.
And I always set the alert 2 hours before, remind me a day before.
Yeah.
As like little as that seems, until you get into the habit of actually doing it and knowing that it's something you have to do, just giving yourself reminders and setting time for it. And yeah, I feel like that would be my suggestion. And just start small. Don't tell yourself, okay, I'm gonna pray for 3 hours straight. Like, we have to be real.
Let's build up to it.
Yeah. And you know, whether or not your time looks like 30 minutes, 20 minutes, even 10. And, you know, even if you're a verse of the day, girl, you know, just sit with it.
Yeah.
That's really what what I mean by that is, don't let it be something you just do to do because it's on your to-do list.
Yeah.
Because it's on your calendar. Let it be something, whether it's that one verse, sit with it, think about it, pray about it throughout the day. Go back and revisit it throughout the day. So the next day you can really think about, how did this word meditate to me? And just keep building on that. Over time, you're going to want to learn a little bit more. You're going to say, okay, this verse, what's the context?
Right.
Like, what's the background? And that's kind of how you dig deeper into the word.
Yeah. That's so good. So good. Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for your insight. I'm still looking at you like, wow, I cannot believe you do all for real. But God will surely bless you.
Amen.
Right, because you're doing the right things. You're doing what He's calling you to do, and I mean, it's gonna work out for your good.
Amen.
So, and I know the next generation, the people that you're helping, are very blessed to have you. So,
I appreciate it,
because I'm blessed to have you in my life.
Amen. Sean, likewise.
So I'm like, let me start learning from this girl. But that is it for today. Thank you all so much for tuning into this episode. Thank you, Ashley, again,
of course,
for being here. And again, if there's anything that you'd like to hear on, more topics, we want to hear from you and the things that are important from you. So feel free to hop onto our Instagram and fill in the Google Topics form. But continue blooming into the roses that God has called you to be. See you next time.